Isn't she beautiful? This is a hanging scroll painting by the artist Kitagawa Utamaro, and it shows a beautiful courtesan of Yoshiwara Pleasure Quarter standing in her apartment, intently trying to read a letter. It's probably a letter from one of her suitors, maybe a love letter. The painting was done right at the end of Utamaro's career. He died in 1806, and we think this painting was done probably in the last year of his life, so 1805, 1806. This is a painting, which means Utamaro did it himself. It's an autograph work on paper, and he signed it here with his name, Utamaro Hitsu, the brush of Utamaro, and then impressed a red seal underneath the signature. When I tell you that there are only about 50 painted works by Utamaro that have survived in the world, you'll realize just how precious this work is. When the painting was acquired by the British Museum in 2014, it had been cut down from the original hanging scroll format in which it would have been enjoyed originally. The museum conservation team met with Yasuhiro Oka, director of the Association for the Conservation of National Treasures, to discuss the best course of action for conserving the artwork. The painting was in quite poor condition, showing creases and delamination of the painted layers. What it did still have was this beautiful embroidered fabric around the outside of the painting. It was probably added to the scroll at the end of the 19th century, but it's using fabric from an older kimono. So we have a beautiful woman wearing a beautiful robe, which in turn is surrounded by another beautiful woman's robe. Paper conservator Keisuke Sugiyama assessed and consolidated the painting's surface to ensure that fragile areas were supported throughout the various conservation processes. Once this initial assessment and consolidation had taken place, textile conservators began the initial cleaning of the silk borders, using soft brushes and low-powered vacuum cleaners. The painting was next disassembled entirely from the silk borders. The front of the painting was treated with capillary washing to remove acidity and dirt from the artwork. The painting was faced with temporary layers of thin rayon paper to support the paint while the backing of the painting was removed. Each layer of backing was dampened to assist in their removal. As the backing layers were removed, previous restoration efforts as well as old insect damage could be seen and assessed. Conservator Makoto Kajitani laminated thin Chinese Xuan and Japanese Kozo papers to create a strong support. The temporary facing layer supporting the front of the painting could then be removed.
Anna and I have been working on the embroidered silk textile borders, and what normally happens when scrolls are remounted in Japan, the tradition is that you would keep the painting but the textile borders are renewed, so they would put new textile around it. But we decided that in this case the borders were quite unusual. They're quite decoratively embroidered with gold thread on it, and they are 19th century textiles and would be worth saving. The actual fabric itself is made up of lots of little pieces, and they've been joined together with a paper lining underneath, which makes it slightly different for Anna and I. We use a very fine silk thread. It's a silk monofilament thread. It's a 44 denier, so it's reasonably strong. But our aim is to have something that's strong enough to hold the thread, a thread that will be strong enough to withstand the entire subsequent mounting. But we're also looking for a thread that's not too strong so that it cuts through the degraded original material. We don't want to keep flipping the old textile backwards and forwards that you might do if you were sewing something at home, so that we want to keep it all very static and still. So we've got a hole cut out under the area we're sewing in, which allows us to just stitch, passing the needle from the top to the underneath. For us, it's really great that we've got that crossover between So Western conservation is where we kind of preserve everything, and the tradition of renewing and remounting paintings where they would put new textile in. I'm really pleased that we're working to preserve the original textile.
The newly conserved and lined silk borders were reattached to the painting. A digital mock-up was created to assist in selecting the new silk to complete the scroll mount. The silk chosen was woven by Seitaro Morimura, who himself is a Japanese living national treasure. This silk was lightly dyed so it matched the patina of the original kimono silk border. A paper lining was then added. This lining was secured by pounding the entire surface with a thick uchibake brush to ensure good bonding between all the layers. A final paper lining was then added and roller rods and hanging braid fitted. The bottom roller rod had an inscription detailing how the painting had been conserved and recording the names of all of those who worked on it. Now this beautifully conserved Utamaro painting hangs in the newly reopened Mitsubishi Corporation Japanese galleries at the British Museum, among many other masterpieces of Japanese art.